Welcome everyone to Training Tuesday. I'm your host, Jim Wiggins. So glad to have you on board. We got some exciting HO to talk about this episode. Before we do get started, if you haven't done so far, please do. Please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video like this drops into the channel. Also, you can comment. I try to answer as many comments as possible. I can't promise that I'm going to answer every single one of them. I do my best to answer them. I hope you're having a good summer, and I hope you are excited about some of these recent releases that we're going to be seeing probably within the next week or so. We're going to be talking about Athearn HO scale boxcars, and even though they're both boxcars, there's going to be some differences to them. So if you're a fan of passenger equipment, you're going to want to stay tuned, and if you are a modeler of the 60s, 70s into the 80s, you're going to want to pay attention. We've got some new models on the way that is definitely going to look great on your layout or module. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with another Train Tuesday. We're first going to talk about the Athearn HO scale 50-foot ACF combo door boxcars. Now, these boxcars were built in the 1960s, and they featured a combination of 8-foot Youngstown doors as well as a plug door. Now, combination door boxcars had the advantage of both being a standard boxcar with a sliding door plus having a larger opening for larger loads. This is extremely helpful if you have something like, say, corrugated or paper products. It's a lot easier to get a forklift in there with both those doors open. Now, the plug doors provided internal flush walls along their location next to the sliding door. Having these flush side walls, of course, increased the cubic feet capacity in each car. Now, many of these boxcars came with Hydra-Cushion or Keystone type cushioned underframes, and they also came with optional damage-free load dividers. If you ever saw pictures of these boxcars and they had DF on the side of them, that's what they were talking about. They had load dividers. So pretty common in this era. And these cars, again, the cars in this release are going to be from the 1960s and can definitely be used into the 1980s. Now, the original announcement was in September of 2023. These were supposed to be here back in January of this past year. So they're late. They're not real late. We are trying to catch up in our production, especially with what happened with the tariffs. But they will be here probably by mid-July. So here's the original announcement. If you want to see more of the original announcement, feel free to select the link in the video description below. You can also go to the Athearn website with the additional link. Now let's go ahead and take an actual look at the models. So we're going to start with 1978 era Santa Fe. This is a really eye-catching paint scheme. If you're a fan of the late 70s into the early 80s and this is your road, you're going to want to pick these up. Now we're offering these in 3 different road numbers as singles. You see the car that we're offering here as well as the 2 additional road numbers that are listed there on your screen. Again, you can always go to our links below to see the original announcement, so you can see those, and you can also go to our website to see the additional models. Going back to 1961, we've got this Glacier Green Great Northern boxcar complete with Rocky the Goat. Really cool, really iconic paint scheme. One thing that we get a lot of questions about with our boxcars, not always, but sometimes, do the doors actually slide open? Well, the plug doors on these models are molded into the body. However, the other door is a sliding door. The Youngstown door is sliding. So you can open that up for additional operations if you like. Again, the Great Northern car, 1961 era, is going to be available in 3 different road numbers. Now, the last video I did, I had someone comment, did you forget about us Canadian friends? We can't run Canadian stuff every time. However, we do have a pretty good sales with Canadian products. So we do have Canadian National in this run. This is a 1974 era car. Of course, this is the wet noodle era of the Canadian National. You can also see you have the ACI label there. This is a great addition if you're someone like me that models the Northeast. These definitely could be seen there. I remember seeing these as well as the next car in northern New Hampshire. 1983, this is our one car that's getting into the 1980s. You've got CP Rail. You've got the multi-mark and the bright red. These could be seen all over where I grew up in the 1980s. Now, the multi-mark is what CP Rail calls this, and that's what the diehard CP Rail guys call it. CP Rail guys, I'm probably going to trigger you, but a lot of us rail fans in New England called that the Pac-Man paint scheme. Now, I know you guys hate that, but you got to admit, it does kind of look like a certain character from a certain 8-bit digital video game. Regardless of what you call it, it's a flashy paint scheme. It will definitely fit in your 1980s era modeling, and we're going to offer 3 different road numbers for this car. Richmond, Fredericksburg, and Potomac. We're going to offer 3 different road numbers for this car. This is a 1970s car, and this is one that was actually highly requested. We had a lot of folks requesting more of RF&P. Now, that being said, we get a ton of comments on our social media as well as our videos like this requesting new paint schemes, new railroad runs, things of that nature. Save yourself the time and energy. You can send us an email directly that goes to product development, and that is Athearn-productsuggestions@athearn.com. Again, that email address is Athearn-productsuggestions@athearn.com. Another one that's gaining a lot of popularity, and I'm really kind of excited about this, is the Southern Railway. Now, for years, Southern railroads were all but ignored. Northeast, Midwest, and definitely the West Coast was getting a lot of representation in all of the scales. But we're starting to see more Southern modelers, and I'm really happy to see that because there are some really neat prototypes in the South. Now, Southern, of course, is probably the leader in that, and we had a lot of requests for this. Now, of course, this is the iconic Southern. It gives a green light to innovations. I always liked this boxcar. I actually got to see one of these during Norfolk Southern's reign, which is current, and it was kind of cool to see this old car. I don't think it was being used in revenue service anymore. I think it's more of a maintenance away, but that really cool paint scheme of giving a green light to innovation, you can still see it. This car is going to be offered in its 1974 form in 3 different road numbers. Now let's talk a little bit about the features of these cars. All of these Athearn HO scale cars, again, they're not going to have the detail that a Genesis level car would have. However, don't let that stop you because you're going to have separately applied side ladders and brake wheel. Now these don't have the grab irons like a typical boxcar. These have the side ladders, but those are separate. And for most people that are into just operations or just want to add these to their railroad layout, these are fine representations. They are weighted for optimum performance. However, to get to NMRA standards, you will need to add a little bit more weight. They do come from the factory with 33-inch machine metal wheels with the RP25 contour, which means they will operate on all brands of HO scale track. They do have body-mounted McHenry couplers from the factory. I know that a lot of folks like to switch out to their favorite brand. Fortunately, that's not real hard to do with these. It's pretty easy to do. If you want to know how to do that, stick around. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a few moments. These are accurately painted and based on the prototype. Again, Genesis, we really watch the prototype. Athearn, we sometimes take a few liberties because we want to have a stand-in car for your operations. However, whenever possible, we try to find as much information on these cars to make sure they are accurate for you. Of course, they're highly detailed. The injection molded body has a lot of detail to it. We'll see that in a little bit with the operations section. And they're fully assembled and ready to go. If you want to run them just as is, you can. There's no problem with that. If you want to weather them, you certainly can do that as well. Now, the minimum radius on these cars is 18 inches. So even if you have a small layout, you can add these to your railroad layout. If you're one of those folks that's blessed with a basement empire, well, then these will fit in without any issues at all. Now, going back to the couplers, each boxcar comes with an exploded view showing you how to um, disassemble the boxcar. It's also great in parts verification. Those parts, the exploded views rather, they are now available on our website. So let's say you're off to the Fremo setup and you're in a hurry, and Bob really wants you to hurry because the buffet is closing soon, and you're putting boxes into your car, and maybe you dump one of these box cars on the pavement. Never saying it happened to me, but I'm sure it does happen. And in the process, you've got some damaged and missing parts from your box car. Well, you can go to Athearn.com. You can type up the part number for your box car, and you will see a downloadable PDF of the exploded view. That's going to come in handy when you contact our service department at athearnhelp@horizonhobby.com and say, hey, I need this new brake wheel part. You can communicate with that exploded view, and the service tech will be able to provide really great service for you and get that replacement part. That being said, one thing I do want to say is those parts that we have are just for warranty and service. We're not selling those parts. They're just for warranty and service. So up next are these Athearn 40-foot express boxcars. Now, these go back to the heyday of passenger rail, and for this run, they're going to be mainly the 1940s. But go back in time with me real quick, and you'll go to the heyday of passenger service. And this is the era of streamliners, coast-to-coast rail travel, and one of the best ways to get the mail to different places was passenger. Keep in mind, there were no highways when these were built. Airways were in their infancy. So at this point, the best technology to get from point A to point B in a relatively short amount of time was passenger rail. Now, these 40-foot double-door boxcars were equipped with high-speed trucks, and they represent the prototype cars assigned to this service. They are decorated to match our 60-foot arch roof passenger cars, which have not been delivered yet, but we hope to see those pretty soon. Now, we announced these models back in June of 2022. And as you can see, we've got 6 different roads offered, as well as 3 different road numbers each. Let's go ahead and take a look at the models themselves. We're going to start with the Union Pacific in its Armor Yellow and Harbor Mist Gray. Really eye-catching paint scheme. Again, painted to match their coaches so that they would blend in better. And of course, you can see the trucks there are the high-speed trucks. This is a 1952 era, so this would be perfect for anybody that's modeling the 1950s. We're going to be offering 3 different road numbers of this car. Of course, you've got the big guy from the east. You've got the Pennsylvania Railroad. This railroad was probably, next to its competitor, the biggest railroad on the East Coast. The Pennsylvania Railroad, of course, was gone by 1968, but before then, it was known for its passenger service between all points east into Chicago. And so we're offering the 1940 version of this car. We're going to offer 3 different road numbers for this car as well. And again, if you're a 1940s era Pennsylvania fan, you're going to want to pick up a few of these for your fleet. Baltimore and Ohio, of course, the Royal Blue. 1940 era for this. Really nice looking car. That was one of my favorite paint schemes, was the Royal Blue. We're going to offer this in 3 different road numbers as well. Canadians, we didn't forget you. We've got the Canadian Pacific in this nice maroon with the black roof. Really eye-catching car. Again, 1940 era car, 3 different road numbers being offered. Here's one of the latest or newest in this run. It's a 1960 era Rio Grande. I do want to say that Rio Grande is one of our most popular and best-selling roads, so we had to offer these. This is definitely an eye-catching paint scheme, and you're going to want to add this to your 1960s era Rio Grande passenger set. 3 different road numbers are being offered with this as well. And Southern Pacific. Now, the daylight paint scheme still is probably one of my most favorite paint schemes. And based on our sales, I'd say I'm not the only one. This 1940 era Southern Pacific car is going to also be available in 3 different road numbers and will look great behind your Southern Pacific passenger set. Now, the features on these cars, let's talk about this for real quick. These are double Youngstown doors. Now, they don't open like the previous models. They are molded in, and the reason why we do that is it gives it a little bit more high fidelity. These also have a separately applied brake, wheel, and roof walk. They do have screw-mounted express type trucks, and appropriate trucks, of course, with the 33-inch machine metal wheels. Now, those machine metal wheels do have the RP25 contours, so like all of our HO products, they'll run on any HO manufacturer's track. They are weighted for optimal performance. However, if you want to go directly to the NMRA standards, you will need to add a little bit of weight. These are highly detailed, injection molded. We get a lot of heat on our social media that these are just rehashed blue box. Well, no, they're not. There's been a lot of changes since the blue box models came out, and a lot more work has gone into the molds to bring these up to 21st century standards. Of course, they're painted and printed for realistic decoration, and they'll go great with the Athearn passenger cars. Minimum radius on these is 18 inches, as you probably would have guessed. So again, if you are running passenger on Fremo, you can definitely add these without any issues. And even if you've got a small 4x8, nobody's going to judge you for running these with a cracked passenger train on your layout. So these are due in hobby shops about the middle of July. We're hoping in another week or so we're going to start seeing these in. Now, if you pre-ordered these, you're probably going to get an email or a phone call from your dealer soon letting you know that they're on their way. If you did not pre-order and now you see the models and you're thinking, boy, I really would like one of those more to add to my collection, what I highly suggest you do is contact the dealer of your choice and see. All the pre-orders closed, of course, over a year ago. So we've only produced what pre-orders we got. But it's a possibility that the hobby dealer that you work with may have ordered more, maybe for store stock or maybe for taking on the road to shows. Get your name in there now so that when they come in, they're not completely sold out. If you don't want to go through that trouble in the future, we highly recommend that you pre-order your models. So there you have it. As you can see, I've got a couple behind me. I've got them coupled up to our latest release of the GP40-2s. Let's go ahead and do some operations. All right, we're back on the layout, and we've got our GP40-2 6429, and we're going to do a little bit of switching. We got a really odd switching setup here today. We've got some ACF boxcars and these express boxcars. So let's go ahead and pull forward here. And here you can see we have the CP rail, the multi-mark right behind the locomotive. And just behind that, we'll have the Denver Rio Grande Express 40-foot boxcar. And you see just how nice that presents. Now we can kind of see our warehouse there has got a Baltimore and Ohio 40-foot, as well as that Southern car. We're going to first move the Baltimore and Ohio car out of the way. Now, like I said, these should be in dealer stores by the middle of July. We're already, by the time you're watching this, if you're watching it just after the upload, it's the 8th. And like I said, if you pre-ordered these, well, you're probably going to get a phone call or an email, depending on how your dealer works there. I'm going to use my little, oh, it looks like it connected. Good. All right. Let's move the Baltimore and Ohio back on the main before switching out anything else. Now, if you can't hear the sound of the locomotive, that is because I just have a lapel mic. And I've also got this locomotive turned down quite a bit. Studio is rather small. Now, as the Baltimore and Ohio and Rio Grande go by the screen here, I'll slow down. You can see the express style trucks. You also have those metal wheel sets. These track really nicely. I'm going to spot him right about here, I think. Now, you typically wouldn't see these switching like this. These would be in passenger terminals. But for today's program, in order for you guys to take a look at them, why not? Let's just go ahead and do some switching with them. We're going to go forward. And now we're going to pick up that Southern car. Now, the ACF 50-foot boxcars, if you're a modeler of anywhere between the early 60s into the 80s, these probably should be on your layout. These guys work everywhere in those eras. The run that we're doing this time is mainly centered in the 70s when they were the most prolific. However, just because we offer that era, that doesn't mean you have to stick just to that era. Case in point, the the Great Northern. A lot of those cars lasted in that paint scheme, albeit patched, into the early BN era. So if you're modeling an early BN, which is a really cool time to model the BN, you can add those to your roster, and with a little bit of decal work, you can definitely bring it up to the appropriate era. Athearn gives you a starting point. We've had questions about our errors. How do you pick your errors? Well, box cars, freight cars in general, would change with the type of information that was put on them. So that, in case in point, an ACI label, that generally means it's anywhere between 1968 to the 70s. That doesn't mean, though, you wouldn't see ACI labels after the late 70s, but it kind of gives you a calling card for an era, if you will. Now, my layout is just a small switching layout. Those turnouts are hand thrown. They're not servo or anything like that. They're just hand thrown. All right, we're going to back up the, dare say, my favorite boxcar out of this run. I really like the Southern car. Like I said, from the factory, these are ready to go. This is exactly as they look. These are production samples. All right, I'm going to back this up just a little bit. And the first one we're going to spot is our CP rail car. I'm going to put him on the camera and show you those doors do open. Get my meat claw on there. So there you have it. They do open. The plug doors don't, obviously. Those are molded into the boxcar. But these guys do slide open. So again, you know, a lot of guys like that. You give up a little bit of scale fidelity with that because of the, you know, these are oversized, these rails. But some guys like that, so we still offer them. Now, a lot of you may be joining us for the first time are wondering, why is your layout so plain? Well, I've said it before, we don't have an operating budget that allows us to have a world famous modeler build our modules or layouts. We don't have a huge layout at Horizon Hobby. Everything is done personally. So if you see pre-production samples on our social media, chances are that's Janik's Fremo module. That's his. John is a member of a club, so he'll sometimes get me pictures from the club. And of course, this is all new. I just started this HO layout this past spring. So it will be getting more scenery when we get closer to the fall and it's a little easier to work on. There's not so many things competing for my time. Get the track painted, ballasted, and you'll start seeing more of it. But for right now, the focus is these freight cars, which will be here about the middle of July. You can see why those double doors would be so much easier for loading and unloading. I'm going to try to get that in there. I think I got it. I've talked to operators that used to unload rolls of corrugated and paper from boxcars like that, and definitely the double doors was a lot easier getting those big rolls out of the car and into the warehouse. And these were folks that were working in the industry back in the late 70s, early 80s. All right, now we're going to get our Rio Grand car next. Now remember, all of our Athearn cars, they do come with the metal wheel sets with the RP25 contours. I'm using microengineering code 70 since it's just a branch industrial layout. But if you're running code 83 or even old code 100, you can operate these without any issues. Yeah, we're just going to spot him at the next door. Now going back to the Athearn Genesis GP40-2s, this is the first run that includes illuminated marker lights or classification lights and number boards. Number boards are illuminated on these. There's still a few of these, but they're selling out quick. The CSX ones, I'm glad I got my CSX one because I believe we are completely sold out of CSX. But there's some other lines in there. That you can still choose from. And you can see how smooth that runs. That's just from the out of the box. I haven't done anything to it. That's speed step 5. So if you're interested in getting a new 40-2, contact your dealer. They may still have a few of these in stock. And now we're going to pick up our 2 cars, head back to the yard. So that gives you an idea. Again, these are production models. These aren't pre-production. These are the ones that are actually on the way. These are the ones that are sent earlier for marketing. And they are exactly what you're going to get right out of the box. So that's all I've got for you on this episode of Train Tuesday. Like I said, links for more information on these models is in the video description below. Don't forget, exploded views are now being included with models as they come into stock. That will be retroactive as well. It's going to take us a while to get all that information on the website, but we're trying to help you enjoy the hobby even more. And with that, I want to wish you all a great day in the hobby room. Stay cool by getting some work done on the railroad. Until we meet again, get out there, do some good modeling, be kind to others, and above all, high greens. Take care, everyone.